DeepSeek did it again. They gifted us with yet another model called R1, and we received another huge update, which is Cline 3.2.0. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to use them both to build basically anything that you want. First, let's have a look at R1 and why it's different from other models. So for that, let's head back over to my screen. As you can see, I'm on the official API documentation for R1, and I really don't like using hype language when it comes to new AI models like crazy, insane, because it sets my teeth on edge. You can't really open YouTube anymore these days without reading any of those claims. But indeed, if we have a look at the benchmark for R1, you can see that as far as the benchmarks go, it's on par with OpenAI 01. Sometimes I feel like those companies lean a little bit too much into the direction of optimizing the models so that they perform well on these benchmarks, right? And sometimes as a consumer, if you use them, you think to yourself like, is it really as good as they say? So we'll see about that in the next few minutes. So if we scroll down, you can find a bit more information about DeepSeek as a model and why it's different from other models. As you can see, it says in the paper, incentivizing reasoning capabilities in LLMs via reinforcement learning. And usually how these models are trained is that they get huge amounts of data, right? And it's called supervised learning. So basically the scientists show the model what it needs to do, and then it learns by watching examples, so to speak. R1 does it a little bit different because it uses reinforcement learning. And this is kind of like a toddler would learn something. Imagine being a child and your parents gave you a puzzle, right? And you would kind of learn by doing and by making mistakes and by kind of ruling out the different ways the puzzle pieces don't fit together. And eventually you would solve the whole puzzle. And this is kind of like DeepSeek R1 is training its reasoning capability, right? The other update that I want to show you is Cline. So for those of you who haven't checked out Cline yet, definitely watch the other video on my channel where I compare it to other AI coding tools like Cursor or Windsurf. But if we have a look at the change log, you can see that with version 3.2.0, we received this feature, a plan act mode toggle to let you plan tasks with Cline before letting him get to work. And usually how I plan my project is that I would create documentation files in MD format, right? So that I have a plan that I can give to Cursor and kind of have a way to guide the AI to write stuff for me. But this time we're just jumping into Cline and using the plan mode to see how well it works. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to head over to VS Code and you need to install Cline as an extension, right? So just open the extension tab and then search for Cline and then install it if you haven't done it yet. In my case, it's already enabled. And the next thing that we need to do is we kind of need to give Cline access to R1. And the way we do this is by hitting Command Shift and P. This will open the command line. And then you want to choose Cline open in a new tab. This will open Cline. And here at the bottom, you can see, maybe let me make this a bit bigger for you guys. At the bottom, you can see that I've already enabled the R1 model. So you just click on it, then you want to choose OpenAI compatible as an API provider. This is the base URL that you need to use. This is the model ID, DeepSeek-Reasoner. And now another thing that you need is the API key. So for that, you want to head back over to your browser and you want to go to platform.deepseek.com. Now keep in mind, since we're making a request to DeepSeek's API, it will cost a little bit of money, right? If you want to know how much, you just have to go back to the api-docs.deepseek.com. And here you can see the input API price and the output API price per million token. So if we head back over here, you can see that I already experimented with it a bit. And this is why I have to pay like 1 cent. So what you want to do is you want to click top up. You want to choose an amount. You want to link your credit card. You want to pay the amount. And then you will see the topped up balance inside of your dashboard. Now, the next thing that you need to do is you want to click API keys. And as you can see here, I've generated the API key. You want to click create new API key. You want to give it a name. So let's call it test. And then you want to click create API key. And this is the key that you need to paste inside of this input field here, as you can see. Now, I'm actually go ahead and delete this one because we won't need it. And this is essentially everything that you need to do to have access to R1 inside of Cline. Essentially, now you can close the API provider drawer by just clicking on the model. And I've prepared the following prompt. Create a simple web app for a personal book library tracker. The app should allow users to add books they've read or want to read, including details like title, author, and a brief review. Include features to list all books, mark books as read or unread, and search for books by title or author. Use HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And we want to change this, use Next.js 15 for the front end, and suggest a suitable backend technology. Provide a basic structure for the app, including key functions and API endpoints. And we want to change this to a local backend technology because, well, I don't really want to use a provider like Supabase in this example because I don't want the video to be like an hour and 30 seconds long. I want to keep it under 20 minutes, okay? Make sure that you've toggle the plan mode and then you want to hit enter. And we'll see what Cline comes up with. We'll probably suggest something like create a new Next.js project with npx and so on. But I guess it will also give us some new insights regarding features or other libraries that we should use. Okay, so let's architect this book tracker app. Here's my proposed solution. Front end, Next.js 15 with app router, local backend, Next.js API routes, Prisma ORM, SQLite, self-contained, no external services needed, state management, Zustand for client-side state, and Tensor query for server state, ShadCN UI components with a tailwind, and the key features implementation. We have the Zustand store, required clarifications. Should we implement user authentication or keep it single user? Yeah, we can definitely keep it single user. It's more like a demo, right? And for the design requirements, you keep it minimalistic, but it still should look good, right? So just use ShadCN components. And we don't need PDF or CSV import export functionality. And we also don't need React query for now, just focus on Zustand and the SQLite setup with Prisma. Now we want to hit enter one more time with the plan mode enabled to see the refined suggestions. And once we're finished with this and we have verified this, we'll toggle the act mode and then Cline will automatically start to create the application. So we need the CRUD API endpoints for the books. We have the main UI, we have the component, which is a book form and a book list. Then we have the store and we have the schema.prisma and the core implementation. We need a book model, we need a Zustand store, and we need the API endpoints for get, post, put, and delete so that we can, well, add a new book, list all books, update a current book status, and delete a specific book. So now we'll toggle the act mode and then we'll see what happens. Okay, so actually before we toggle the act mode, you can see that here's an error. So we install next at latest. So this is not correct, right? It's npx create next app at latest, and then we want to install Prisma, Prisma client, Zustand, and so on. So I will do one more iteration and then we'll see what Cline comes up with. So actually there are a few mistakes in your initial commands. So first of all, it's not npm install next at latest, but npx create next app at latest. And then we want to use npm to install Prisma, Prisma client, Zustand. We don't need radix-ui because we first have to initialize a new ShadCN project. And we do this with the following command. So we want to do it like so. And then we can generate the Prisma client. So let's do plan one more time. Okay, so let's have a look at the find version. So npx create next app at latest. Yes, my book tracker. Okay, we'll go with this one. We install the Prisma client, Zustand. Okay, so this is again not correct, but we'll toggle to act now and then we'll see what happens. We can do this manually later on, but well, I want Cline to start working. ShadCN-UI, whatever. Let's go with it. So yes, we want to use the source directory. No to TurboPack. Let me make this a bit bigger. Nope to customize import alias. So we have successfully scaffolded the Next.js project. Now it will probably throw an error in just a bit. And one thing I really like about Cline is that you can see how much tokens you spend, right? So as you can see, we have 80,000 input tokens and 4K output tokens. So npx ShadCN latest init, npx Prisma init data source provide SQLite. So what the fuck? Let's run the command. So this probably won't work. No shit. You know what? We'll do reject for now. And currently we need to do a few more things. So first of all, we need to set up Tailwind, right? So I will quickly do this manually and then I will head back to Cline and we'll run another command. I've manually finished the setup. I've created the Tailwind config file, installed all of the necessary dependencies, and I also initialized the ShadCN project, as you can see here. And now I want to proceed with the following prompt. I've initialized the ShadCN project manually instead of the application, so it already works. We can also add different components. Please proceed with the rest of the setup. You don't need to install ShadCN anymore. We can proceed with the Prisma setup, and we'll see what Cline is giving us. By the way, you can always check how much money you've spent by having a look at platform.deepseek.com. There inside of the monthly usage graph, you can see how much each request costs. Now, it didn't cost 60 cents to build this. I've played around with this model earlier today, so this is why you see like 60 cents. I think we spent around like 10 cents maybe, or maybe even less, maybe 5 cents. Let's get back to Cline, and it says first writing the Prisma schema. We run the command and generate the Prisma client. Let's see if this works. Yes, we want to install Prisma. Generated Prisma client. We get an error, schema validation. Environment variable not found. Okay, yeah, that's not a big deal. So you can just create a .env variable and call a database URL. Yes, let's save this. Okay, yeah, Cline has also just created one for us. So let's do save. And unfortunately, Cline installed Prisma outside of the directory. So actually what we need to do is we need to push this here. And we also need to run these commands one more time inside of our correct directory. This worked. Let me check. So we can delete all of this here. Okay, now it's writing the CRUD operations, I believe. Yes. It creates the Prisma client. This is also correct. Now the next step is to create the store so that we have proper state management with Zustand. As you can see, it created the interface for the book because each book needs to have an ID, a title, an author, a status, a review, which, well, holds a short review of the book, and a rating, which is a number. And now we create the store. So let me quickly open this. We fetch the books with the different methods. Okay, let's do save. Now we can close the files. And so far, I have to say, this looks pretty neat. The CRUD operations look all right. One thing that Cline hasn't implemented is the, let me check, where do we actually create the store? Interface bookstore here. So unfortunately, one thing that Cline hasn't implemented is the persist functionality, right? Actually, what we want to do is we want to import persist, what's it called? Yeah, persist from Zustand middleware, because we want to still see the books even after refreshing the page, right? So we probably have to do this manually, or we'll tell Cline to edit. But right now, so let's see, if we run npm run dev, we'll probably run into an error. So let me quickly open the local host. Now, as you can see, we still look at the main page, so the boilerplate code, so to speak. And this is because Cline hasn't actually changed the front end. It created all of the infrastructure that we need to well, add the books to the database and all that stuff, but we still need the way to kind of have a front end that we can interact with. So let's tell Cline the following. I see you have created all of the infrastructure that we need, the SQLite database with Prisma ORM, CRUD API routes, Zustand state management, and so on. But, well, we can't use it because you haven't connected it to the front end. So could you please go ahead and do this? And again, we want to toggle to plan mode once more. It says, I'll help you connect the front end components to our backend infrastructure. Here's the integration plan. So update the main page component to use the Zustand store for Zustand. It's a German word. Okay. For data management, implement search functionality, add book creation, dialog integration, handle status logging, and so on. We also need to enhance the UI with proper form validation, rating display stars, and so on. First of all, we'll toggle to act, and then we let Cline do its thing. We get a few errors, right? Because we have to install a few ShadCN components, the button, the input field, the card, the badge, and so on. Let's switch to Cline. First, we'll hit save, and then it adds the component. Okay, so then we can probably do this manually. So let's switch back to the terminal, and we want to do npx ShadCN at latest add, and we need to add the following things. So we need to add the card component, we need to add the badge, we need to add the input, and we need to add the button. So let's quickly do this. We use legacy peer depths. Yes, we have to save this. We also need to install the dialog. So let's quickly do this. Dialog will probably be done in a few hours, guys. So the file button already exists. Yes, just override it, whatever. And we also need the text area. Apparently this looks kind of shitty, so if you have a look at this, I wonder why the styling isn't applied correctly. So I probably have to investigate this manually. The reason probably is because we don't have a post CSS module. So let me quickly check the package.json file. We don't have post CSS, right? Yeah, okay. Again, guys, I'm sorry. I will quickly install this manually and then I will get back to you. Okay, so I fixed the error. Indeed, it was an error inside of the tailwind.config file. These things happen, right? So especially if you use AI to set up this stuff, this is why I like to do this manually with any library that I'm using, because sometimes those models just mess things up. But now, as you can see, we can search for books. If we click add new book, we have this nice modal where it says title, author, rating, and we can write a small review. Let's do Harry Potter like so. Joe K. Rowling, rating 1. Let's do this is a dope book, and we'll do add book. Okay, so this works. I mean, the modal could close, right? But other than that, it says unread. This is nice. And we also try to patch this. Okay, this is, if we click unread, this route still doesn't exist yet, right? So we still have to create that one, I believe. Let's see, do we have a patch? No, we don't have the patch function yet. Okay, so this is not a big deal. But other than that, we can add books. Let's do another one. Let's do Lord of the Rings. I don't know, Tolkien something. We'll do 2. We'll do this is a book about hobbits. Okay, so this works. I mean, we can't delete the books yet. This is something we still, or a client still has to implement, but other than that, it works. See, yeah, the search functionality also works, which is nice. Let's head back over to Cline and we run this command. So let's do run command. We install the other dependencies and we can always check the cost. So we were at like 50, I believe, right? So this cost us around 20 cents to get this far, which is all right, I guess. So it still wants to add those components. I've already added these components manually, so you don't have to do it anymore. All right, so the next thing that I will do is that I will once more toggle the plan mode, and then I will ask Cline to implement the other features, which is, well, we want to be able to delete the books, and we also want to be able to toggle from unread to read, right? It works. I can search for books, I can add new books. What I can do is change the status from unread to read, and I also can delete books. So we'll just hit send. As I've said, remember to toggle the plan mode. Let's have a look at the plan. Status toggle fixed. The issue appears to be in the API endpoint handling patch requests. Need to verify the Prisma update operation in API books ID route. Okay. Should add error logging and proper status codes. Delete functionality implementation. We need to add a delete button in the book card UI. Create a delete method in Zustand store. Implement delete API endpoint. Add confirmation dialog for deletion. Okay. So far, everything is smooth sailing. I mean, the only thing that didn't really work was the initial project setup. I mean, at least when it comes to setting up Tailwind, right? But other than that, I'm impressed. I mean, we burned through 500,000 of tokens, or even more than 500,000 of tokens, like 600,000. This is something you have to keep in mind, right? So we paid around, I think it's like 35 cents now. And this is not a complicated app, keep that in mind, right? I mean, everything runs locally. We don't have user authentication. We don't have all of the basic CRUD features. And we already paid like 30 cents, okay? I don't know if you would have been able to produce something better looking and with more features inside of Cursor for less money. Well, let's do the math. So how many prompts did we use? We did use like 5, 6, 7 prompts. So you would have to pay like, what's it called? You have to pay like $20 for Cursor, right? So one request cost around 4 cents and we made like 6 requests. Okay, so I don't know about that one. Maybe the cost is almost not identical, but similar. So let's see, we'll do save for this route and let's check if we have the patch function now. Okay, yeah, here it is. Oh, okay, and look at that, it already works. So if we have a look at the terminal, you can see the patch feature works. What's that? Should be awaited before using its properties. Let's do it like so. Okay, now the error is gone, which is nice. And let's have a look at Cline. Now we should get the delete button any moment. Okay, so the book library tracker is now fully functional with status toggling between read, unread, book deletion with confirmation. Is that so? Okay, yeah. Well, this is the last thing that we need to do. We might have book deletion with confirmation, but we don't have a delete button inside of the book card component. Could you please add this? I guess in total we will have burned like 1 million tokens for this small app, which is around 50 cents, 52 cents. So let's have a look at the next plan. Create a confirmation dialog component, add the delete button to the book card with a confirmation flow, style the delete button appropriately, ensure proper spacing. Okay, yeah, well, let's toggle act. And this will be the last feature that we're going to add, and then we'll talk a bit about R1's capabilities. I mean, you see so many videos on YouTube where people, well, implement small Python scripts and do the multi-step reasoning, right? And I wanted to do it a bit differently, and I wanted to show you if the model is actually usable with other tools for AI coding like Cline. And I mean, you will probably be able to build something decent, but you should expect to pay a bit of money, right? I mean, it's still less expensive than actually hiring a developer, but I guess you can burn through at least $5 to $10 worth of tokens per day. Okay, I will wait until the client is finished and then get back to you. Let's head back over to the application. Let's quickly add one new book. Rating, I don't know, let's do 3. Let's do this is a dope book again. We'll do add. Okay, so this works. Are you sure you want to delete this book entry? Yes. Okay, this also works. Nice. Okay, yeah, we get another error in the patch route, so we probably have to await this too. This shouldn't be a big deal anymore. Okay, so we burned through around 1 million token, and to be honest, I don't know what amount of tokens was cache miss and cache hit, but should have cost us around like 50 cents, I believe, something like that. Again, but keep in mind, this is just a simple application. Think about if you want to use it for like an enterprise level SaaS or a more sophisticated software solution, you will burn through the tokens and through the money pretty quickly. So if you're a beginner and you don't really know how to organize your project so that you don't pass all of the files every time to the model, you might want to consider to work with solutions like Windsurf or Cursor if it's only about the cost for you, right? Other than that, I mean, it's a lot of fun to work with Cline. You may have to do a little bit more manual stuff, if that makes sense. But other than that, I like it. I'm really excited to see what future updates will bring. We'll see that in the next video. So, bye.